The sun blazed overhead, casting a scorching heat over the small western town of Silver Creek. Dust rose in swirling clouds as townsfolk bustled along the main street, trading goods, livestock, and gossip. The weather was stifling, but the town's routine never faltered. The air carried the smells of leather, horses, and the faint aroma of cooking food from nearby kitchens. The day, in all its simplicity, was no different than any other, except for one thing. At the heart of the town square, a woman knelt in chains. She was an Apache woman, her dark, braided hair adorned with feathers, her body draped in a beaded leather outfit that spoke of her heritage. Ayana, as the townsfolk had learned her name to be, was captured just days before after a skirmish with a local rancher over cattle. The rancher accused her of stealing, a charge she denied. Yet in Silver Creek, a town where the law favored wealth and power, her word meant little. She was shackled and displayed like a prize for all to see, her future determined by the whims of the highest bidder. Though she knelt in the dirt, her head held high, Ayana's eyes held no fear. She was a warrior, accustomed to hardship, and the chains at her wrists could not break her spirit. Instead, her gaze scanned the crowd, her expression calm yet unwavering. She was not a woman to be pitied. She was a woman to be respected. Jacob Keller, one of Silver Creek's wealthiest and most influential ranchers, walked through the bustling market with his two young daughters. Tall, strong, and sharp-eyed, Jacob commanded respect wherever he went. His land was vast, his cattle plentiful, and his reputation built on both hard work and ruthless efficiency. He was used to getting what he wanted, and today, he had come for something far different from cattle or tools. Today, Jacob was here for a prize. His daughters, Lily and Grace, were by his side, their innocent faces taking in the sights of the town square. Lily, the older of the two, wore a pale blue dress with a white collar, her blonde hair braided neatly down her back. Grace, quieter and more reserved, wore a soft floral dress that swayed gently in the breeze. Both girls were accustomed to the luxuries their father provided, but neither of them had ever witnessed something like this before. Jacob's eyes fell on Ayana as he approached. She was kneeling, shackled and exposed to the eyes of the town. Jacob, calculating and sharp, saw only one thing: a captive, a commodity to be bought and sold. "Girls, stay close," Jacob said, glancing down at his daughters as they walked beside him. They had come to Silver Creek to purchase something new for their home, but neither of them had expected to see a woman in chains. The sight sparked something in them, an unfamiliar feeling of curiosity and perhaps compassion. Lily, her bright blue eyes wide with interest, tugged gently at her father's sleeve. "Papa," she asked softly, "who is she?" Jacob looked down at her, his face softening for a brief moment. "She's a prisoner, Lily," he replied, his voice calm. "A woman who broke the law." Lily's gaze shifted to Ayana, her eyes narrowing with a mix of confusion and fascination. "But why is she in chains?" Jacob frowned. "That's how things work here, Lily. People like her, they're seen as less than us." Grace, quiet as always, tugged on her father's coat. She was looking at Ayana with wide, innocent eyes, her expression uncertain. "Papa, can we talk to her?" Jacob looked down at his youngest daughter, surprised. "Talk to her? Grace, she's not someone we need to talk to. She's a prisoner." "But she might be lonely," Grace whispered, her voice soft but filled with concern. "Maybe she needs a friend." Jacob's gaze softened, but he didn't know how to respond. It was a strange request from his young daughter. He had never seen the world the way she did. He had always taught them about power and control, not about understanding the pain of others. But before he could reply, Lily stepped forward, her hand firmly pointing at Ayana, her voice clear and insistent. "I want her, Papa," Lily declared, her small finger still aimed at Ayana. "I want her to be our mother." Jacob froze. The words hit him like a punch to the gut. He had raised his daughters to understand the value of possessions, the importance of wealth and status. But this was something he hadn't prepared for. His daughters, so innocent, so pure, wanted a woman who had been captured, shackled, and sold like an object. "Her?" Jacob repeated, his voice low. "You want her?" "Yes, Papa," Lily replied, her voice firm. "I want her. She could be our mother." Grace nodded, her gaze never leaving Ayana. "She could be good for us, Papa. She could protect us." Jacob looked down at his daughters, the shock still evident on his face. They didn't understand the implications of what they were asking. They were just children, after all. But in their eyes, there was something genuine, something real. They weren't seeing Ayana as a captive or a commodity. They were seeing her as a person, someone who could belong with them, someone who could be part of their family. Ayana's gaze met Jacob's, and in that moment, something passed between them, a recognition of sorts. Ayana had known oppression her entire life, but this was different. These children didn't see her as someone to pity or control. They saw her as a human being, someone who could be loved and valued. Jacob's heart pounded in his chest, and for the first time in a long while, he felt something unfamiliar, a flicker of doubt. What was he supposed to do now? His daughters had asked for something he hadn't considered, something that defied everything he had ever believed about ownership and power. Jacob took a deep breath, his mind racing. The town had already spoken. Ayana was nothing more than property, a prize for sale. But his daughters were seeing something else. And in their innocent, unshakable belief, Jacob saw a path forward, a path he had never considered before. For the first time, he understood that maybe there were things in this world more valuable than wealth and control. The town of Silver Creek buzzed with whispers after Jacob Keller's decision. The townspeople had always known Jacob as a man who controlled everything around him, from his land to his cattle to his workers. He was a man who didn't make hasty decisions, and certainly not decisions that defied the status quo. But this time, Jacob had made an unexpected choice. He had bought Ayana, not as a slave, not as property, but as a part of his family. In the days that followed, Jacob's house felt different. Ayana, though still wary, had been welcomed into the Keller household with surprising warmth. The girls, Lily and Grace, had embraced her like a mother they had never known, teaching her their ways of life and learning from her in return. They shared stories, laughter, and even silence. Ayana had not spoken much since her arrival, but she had already begun to teach the girls things their father never could. The ways of the Apache, the connection to the land, to the animals, to the earth, were foreign to them. But they were fascinated by her strength, her stories, and her wisdom. Jacob watched this from a distance, uncertain of what to make of it all. He had promised his daughters that they could have anything they wanted. But this was something else entirely. Ayana wasn't just part of their lives. She was becoming a force of nature within their family. Despite her new position in the Keller household, Ayana was not a woman to be controlled. She was strong, independent, and proud. And though Jacob had promised to protect her, he realized that she was more than capable of protecting herself and his daughters. And though Jacob had made this decision for the girls, it was becoming increasingly clear that it was not just for them. He had begun to see Ayana not as a commodity, but as a woman, someone who had seen the world in ways he couldn't comprehend. She had lived through struggles he had never faced. She had fought for survival in ways that had shaped her into a person he couldn't help but respect. As days turned into weeks, the bond between Ayana and the girls grew. The ranch felt warmer, more alive with the stories Ayana shared, the lessons she imparted, and Jacob, though still wary of what the world would think, began to feel something he hadn't felt in years, something beyond ownership, beyond control. It was respect. And it was the beginning of a new family, built not on wealth or power, but on understanding, love, and the strength to embrace the unthinkable. Ayana, for the first time in what felt like forever, had found a place to belong. And in doing so, she had unknowingly started to heal not just herself, but the Keller family as well. The future was uncertain, but for Jacob, Lily, Grace, and Ayana, it was the start of something new. A new kind.